Oh, hey, you're up. Oh, hey, you're up.
Hit that flying vagina or what?
Oh, hey, you're up.
You're
Oh,
gonna
hey,
die.
you're up.
Again
Hit that flying vagina or
again.
what?
Oh, hey,
and
you're
again.
up. Oh, hey, you're up.
Hit that flying vagina or what?
Oh, hey, you're up. Oh, hey, you're up.
Who's Bill Murray?
Oh, hey, you're up. I'm not sure if you remember my name or not. You were pretty wasted last night. I'm Bubbawheat, and you're listening to my podcast, It's Time to Rewind, where we're in the death days of autumn, covering the Happy Death Day movies one loop at a time. Today, we're discussing Ryan's second loop in Happy Death Day 2U that starts at 7 minutes and 42 seconds, with Ryan waking up in his car, freaking out about being stabbed, and ends at 24 minutes and 26 seconds, with the Sisyphus device going off in slow motion. Joining me today is my guest, Cam Sully from the Jacked Up Review Show. How are you doing today?
Very good, buddy. And thank you for hosting. And you were like, I need someone to fill in on this. I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's whatever movie it is, let's do it. And
Nice.
here we are, talking about uh, Phil Vu's character, Ryan Fun.
Yeah. So, before we kick things off into this loop, what's your history with these two movies?
I saw them when they were on FX. I wasn't crazy about them, but I got it. It's like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's totally Scream meets Groundhog's Day. It's just, even if you're not into horror, it's a lighter take on the genre, and it ultimately is just, again, it's just a very twisted time dimension movie. It was bound to be a cult movie, even if it wasn't a critic or audience darling. It's just that kind of weird movie.
Yeah, it's I don't think I talked too much about like the box office as I went through the first movie, but I did see that the first one was a pretty big success. It's a Blumhouse, so it's a
Hmm.
relatively small budget, and it made over 100 million. The first movie did, so it was considered a pretty big success. And then the second movie didn't do quite as well, but it was still you know somewhat successful. I think a lot of people think that it it got hurt by shifting genres from horror to this one is much more sci-fi. The first one was already kind of horror light, being like a PG-13 horror movie, but it still had those slasher elements. And the second one is, even less horror to it. It's much more sci-fi comedy with a little bit of horror mixed in. But
That's the
there,
best way to say it.
yeah,
And
but it
I
was
don't
still
know.
profitable, and I there's still talks about a third movie. I know a few months ago the director mentioned that the third movie was happening, definitely happening, but I haven't heard any news since then, so I'm not sure if it's still got stalled or if it's being quietly worked on or what that situation is.
I know the Chris Landon guy was quitting the other new Scream that was coming out over creative disagreements and actors leaving. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the fallback. It's like, okay, I'll do a sequel to something I originally worked on, you know?
Yeah. And
Uh,
they do, they do set this up for another movie, even though it's kind of a joke setup, I think. But no, I'll get to that when when I get to the end of this movie. But we are here in the second loop, and no,
yeah,
I mentioned this last week, but I still think that it's an interesting choice to make the audience think that Ryan is going to be the focus of this entire movie, even though he's really just the main character in these first two loops, and then they shift right back to Tree again.
yeah. And a character not only just named Ryan, but also nicknamed Dickhead.
Yeah, and he's very much like portrayed as like the slacker character, and it's kind of surprised that he's actually working on this, in this quantum mechanics lab, and we get a line later in this loop where he said he should have gone to MIT.
So dismissive.
But
Uh,
this starts off with the second time around, well, the second and final time around of this. Like I called it last. In the first movie, it was Tree's time loop marker walk of shame, And this isn't really a walk of shame for Ryan, but it is, his walk from his car back to his dorm room.
He's
And
definitely getting schooled while
yeah,
the narrator is going to town.
yeah, and this another change between the first loop and the second loop is the music. The first time around, the music was much more like curious and whimsical, and this time around, it's much more creepy and foreboding as he's going through these.
It's definitely not like any Bear McQuarrie score I've ever heard. For those who don't know, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Battlestar Galactica, American Godzilla movies, Child's Play remake, Foundation, and Outlander. Very accomplished resume, but again, it, when he does dark fantasy and horror, it really is just not atypical, and I can't even compare it to anything else he's done. Not even God of War or anything else. Like it's just very a lot of playful piano. Dun 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 dun. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and we go
Just having
through,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we go through all these, these time loop markers again. We got the truck with the weird horn. We got the old woman with the yappy dog.
Yeah.
And I like that Ryan does it. We get a little bit of Ryan testing things out pretty early on
Yes.
as he picks up the rock and throws it where the homeless guy is about to spring up at him. And I think it's funny that the homeless guy is yells at him for being a dick, even though he was just about to jump up and spring out at him and surprise him and say ask him for change, but Ryan got the
Yeah.
jump on him first, and so that makes Ryan the dick.
Pretty nutty.
And then we also get the skateboarding guy with the coffee, and then we skip the activist this time, and we jump straight to the trumpet guy and the shut up guy. And
Well,
I did mention this last episode, but what do you think about having this in here? Like, did it's such a minor thing? Did you even notice the trombone in the first movie at all?
definitely not. I was too focused on all the actors pretending to be high schoolers and unusual settings. So it's definitely in there for those who want to look at the world. So I give every filmmaker, whether I like you or don't, just any credit for when you want to sneak in an Easter egg, because at least you had a vision and decided, hey, I'm going to have something in here for rewatch value if you didn't see it the first time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it is such a subtle audio cue in the first movie is this trumpet that we keep hearing in the beginning of most days, but I it does bug me a bit because this is Tuesday and not Monday, and we
Good
only
point.
see the Tuesday the one time in the first movie, and in that time we don't hear the trombone music in the background.
Yeah.
And I do give them credits that it seems like he's playing like a slightly different tone, but it does bug me a little bit that this is the next day, and he wouldn't necessarily have this exact same interaction 2 days in a row.
Yeah, it's very loose with the whole timeline, and there's a lot of other conveniences. So
Hmm.
it's kind of weird because it's wants you to pay a little extra deeper attention, yet there's some other details that contradict each other
Yeah.
that aren't free of scrutiny. So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't even know
it's
how to
like
feel about that.
they're throwing in these Easter eggs, but they didn't get them 100% correct. So it's like you have to have paid attention to notice them, but if you paid attention, then you notice that they're wrong. So
That is
it's
wild.
almost like a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, I don't want to say I can't call them hacks because they actually cared about it, but I also can't say it's perfect. So I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's,
And then we also, for the first time, we get a close up on the outside of Carter and Ryan's dorm room door, and
yeah,
I think it's interesting that it has a bunch of pictures on there, and they seem like
go
they're all of
babies, go.
Carter,
Yeah,
like on where the little occupied door, because there's like 5 or 6 pictures. We got Carter in a high school graduation outfit, and we get like a what looks like a childhood picture, but they do all look like they're Carter, and it looks like none of them are Ryan.
there's a bit of that. I know inside his apartment he has a poster of the They Live movie,
Hmm.
which I didn't catch. Uh,
Yeah, even
So
though I believe I always I always get mixed up because yeah, it's Tree's waking up on Carter's bed, and then Carter was sleeping on Ryan's bed.
That might be. Yeah.
I always kind of forget that at first because I'm thinking, well, she's sleeping on Carter's or on Ryan's bed, but no, they do mention that she was sleeping on Carter's bed and Carter was sleeping on Ryan's bed, and Ryan was sleeping in his car.
I can speak from experience. It's not great.
And then we get to this this next moment which I do kind of love because it really I think Tree really steps into this character again very well, and it does feel like Tree by the end of the first movie rather than Tree from the beginning of the first movie where Ryan starts saying that he's got deja vu, and then Tree just immediately like goes into him and is like asking him if he's repeating the same day and did you get killed? And that's what reset it. He's like, yeah, some psycho dude in a baby mask attacked me.
Yeah, a hell of a baby mask, and it happens in the basketball, not the basketball court, but the actual indoor stadium. Man,
Yeah. And again, I have this is another moment that bugs me a little bit because because I'm looking at this far too closely because Carter says Toombs is dead and Tree says so is Lori. But Toombs should not be dead because Tree killed Lori at the beginning of the day, but then there was no they didn't go back and kill Toombs because she killed him in the loop before, but that got reset because she died at the end of that day. So there's no reason that
oops.
Toombs would be dead this time around because Lori died at the morning and she didn't she didn't set him free that day.
Definitely, yeah. They're definitely not covering their footsteps.
Yeah, it's like that. It's just little details in it, and especially like the first movie had a bunch of little details that lined up so perfectly. So it kind of bugs me even more that they have these little details that aren't correct. But then we get
uh,
this nice little recap of the first movie, and again, like I love like Jessica Roth's performance, just going through this really quick and adding the little commentary about when she's mentions that she was having the affair with her professor. It's like, yeah, I know.
yeah. What was the giveaway? No, just kidding. Yeah, it's uh, stuff frowned upon, but which unfortunately still happens. Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff: La La Land, Body Brokers, Wolves, uh, Boy Kills World was another one. Yeah, she's
Mhm.
very atypical kind of stuff, often comedic or thrillers.
Yeah, I wonder if that's maybe her choices or why she hasn't become a bigger star because I think she gives a great performance in both of these movies, and it is kind of
Yeah,
surprising that she hasn't really broken out yet.
I mean, come on, she was a dancer growing up, not a high school kid who was into the arts. So, yeah, I don't know. I she's fortunately avoided like cliche stuff. Like she doesn't really have any sci-fi channel or lifetime stuff she would want to take off her resume. She's kind of always been just kind of a indie queen, and this is kind of a more mainstream deal.
Yeah, and then I also love this moment at the end where Ryan says, "Oh, I'm still in a dream. It's like Inception. It's a dream within a dream." And he
Yeah.
tries to fall asleep in order to wake himself up,
I
and we also
don't know
get
about
go ahead.
I don't know about you, but I can't just force myself to go to sleep. It just doesn't happen. Yeah. The most I did was trying to avoid a bad movie. It was known as Mamma Mia. But again, that was still at the end of the day and just out of significant boredom. Like, I can't think of anyone who was able to just, snap my fingers, boom, I'm out. You have to
I've
really do some serious prep, like eat something that, like a big meal or something that would
mm,
totally or, and he doesn't relax on a couch. Now, I'm sorry, I'm getting all scientific here, but Long story short, the reason you're more likely to fall asleep on your couch versus your bed is because the couch just creates the whole sense of non-caring, like no responsibility after a long day of work or what have you. And while a bed you can associate with a good or a bad thing depending on how you sleep. So it's just so funny how he's like, yeah, I just want to drop out, totally pass out, just like that. It's like, okay, well, I wish it was that simple.
Yeah, I'm someone that typically doesn't have trouble falling asleep at night, but I would have like I can't just fall asleep unless it's nighttime and I'm tired. Like if I'm
Right.
awake, I'm awake. And then at night I do, kind of pass out fairly quickly most days, but yeah, it's hard for me to like have a random nap in the middle of the day.
Right.
And especially like first thing in the morning after doing this, it would be hard to like go back to sleep after all that.
You would really just have to really want to be out.
Yeah, and then I do love the kind of very college guy thing of Carter hitting him in the dick.
Only in America, buddy.
And then
Wham! Oh,
and then of course we also get Tree going into like final girl mode, just grabbing the baseball bat and saying, show
it's
me where you died. And they go to the
it's
chem lab.
it's always a baseball bat.
Hmm.
She wouldn't want to be seen with the knife because then she'd be mistaken for the killer that was trying to stop. So a bat's gonna have to do, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's metal or a wiffle. Let's get that bat.
Yeah, and I also love that Carter offers to take the baseball bat, and she's like, "Well, I can handle myself." And then his excuse is,
I don't
"You've
need
died
you.
enough," and she's like, "Yeah, fair point."
You died enough. My turn to die. Who
Yeah,
would you say is like the Kenny of this movie? Who's died probably the most? I can't keep track.
I mean,
First movie boy.
it's really just a Tree that's, a few other people died, like Nick died once. Um,
And with a killer running loose, I'd like to think like he took out someone else who would normally would be guarding their campus like this.
well, in the first movie, it was always Lori, except for the couple times where, uh, well, the one or two times where um, a Tree went after Toombs. As Lori had, allowed him to escape, but all the other times it was Lori, and the only other people that she killed besides Tree was Nick
Oh,
and then Gregory once, I think.
there's our biggest Scream Final Girl tribute, Laurie, as in Laurie Strode from Halloween.
Oh yeah,
This is in homage city right now, especially with the Inception line.
yeah. And then we get kind of another fake out, which to me it makes sense that the killer wouldn't be there, especially whenever we eventually find out that it's parallel Ryan that's the killer this time, because they're going straight to the chem lab where the first time around the killer lured Ryan into the chem lab, like probably after he did a few things, and so they're kind of jumping ahead probably a good 20-30 minutes, so it
A bit
makes
of
sense
that.
that the killer wouldn't be there.
Yeah, think again. But
But we do get another fake out, as both the movies love to have all these fake outs with Samar wearing the baby face mask.
yep, I can't remember if they ever explain why he chose the baby mask, but it definitely feels like Jason Blum is reusing creepy masks from his Purge franchise.
Yeah, I think it was the director. He Christopher Landon. He mentioned like whenever he was starting the first movie, he was about to have his first son, and so he was kind of having fears about being a father, and so kind of a baby was a
Mm.
scary thing at him, and so that's kind of where he got the idea to have the baby mask for the killer.
Take your fear of the unknown and put it into something you can relate to
Yeah,
for what you're making.
and
Wild. A horror director is afraid? For real?
and then I do love this like little comedic beat with Samar, getting with Ryan grabbing the mop and then hitting Samar with the mop and saying, you know, I think you broke my cheekbone.
He does whack him a few times. It's like, Jesus, how
Yeah, and then
vicious
we
can
get
you be?
yeah, and as the dean comes in, I also love the repetition of this line, which you know they did the same thing in the quantum mechanics lab in the first loop, where Samar says it's churro day in the cafeteria, and then Dre says nom nom.
Yeah, dun dun dun. And knowing the MPAA, I'm sure some of the different fall downs and everything had to be choreographed that way because they're very picky about how many times you can hit someone without getting an R rating. And I always used to think
I
it was
mean,
just
I
gunshot
feel like
wounds and stabbings. It's like,
I feel like all of you know the amount of violence is perfectly fine. Like you can have any amount of violence in a PG-13 movie, but you can only have a certain amount of blood.
right, right. Like, they're especially picky. Like, Born Identity gets a PG-13 because someone shot in the head, but it's not focused on too long. Well, then you see something like the uncut version of Taken or Shooter, and it's like people are just getting lit up with squibs. And it's like, and Dark Knight Rises gets even more convoluted because it's trying to be PG-13, and yet people they picked a bad angle where people are being shot and they should be bleeding right about now. So you just can't win with these things.
Yeah, and then another like weird, I guess, beef I have with this movie and this loop specifically, you know, because the dean comes in and is going off about Ryan and company's project, and then Tree just asks a question, which somehow allows Ryan to take her into the quantum mechanics lab to exposition her with no, and the dean just disappears.
Exposition. I love it. Expo dump time.
Yeah,
I looked
which
up the actor Steve Zassis, and I could not place him, but he is apparently a good friend of filmmaking and acting duo Jay and Mark Duplass,
hmm,
and he has been in other stuff like Togetherness, Baghead, and Cyrus. And I'm like, interesting, but yeah, when seeing him, I'm like, he looks like an indie kind of movie actor. He just kind of has that vibe. Sure enough.
and I do at least appreciate that they have a little bit of you know interesting movements to go along with the exposition with Tree and Ryan
The
circling around
camera's
this
camera's
Sisyphus.
always moving. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, and it's the
no static.
yeah they call
And
it
you
the
gotta,
Sisyphus quantum cooling
well,
reactor and Sissy
well,
for
and
short.
trope alert. I mean, when just like you got to have an angry police chief in a procedural, you got to have a dean failing but trying to keep order at his university. You know,
Yeah, and he has like a very comedically you know they kind of hamstring him throughout the movie in every single way possible to where
yeah,
they portray him as you know a very ineffective or you know it's someone who he's like powerless in all other forms of his life and so he exerts his power as the dean because that's the only place where he has control that's kind of
right.
the picture that they paint of this character and
He's kind
which
of petty and
yeah
insecure, and this is the only time where he can actually tell everyone what to do.
which I one thing that I will say about you know Christopher Landon, who is the I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but you know he's the writer director. He took it over from Scott Lobdell, who wrote the first movie, and so Scott Lobdell only gets you know character created by credits in this movie, and
I didn't know that.
Christopher Landon kind of took over writing in this movie. And I think that
Lobdell
he
for
is good at creating at being efficient and also subtle. You know, there's a lot of information like packed behind these there's a lot of character development that's kind of just in the outliers that's like done very efficiently and subtly.
That's true. It's tells you what you need to know when you need to know it. So
Yeah.
Scott Lobdell, for those who don't know, he is uh, best known for being the writer of Red Hood comics as well as X-Men comics.
Yeah, the House of M, I think.
Yep, he has written for Godzilla the series and done other comedies. So
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, listeners will hopefully have listened to the I got the chance to interview him, and so that posted, in between the two movies. So that was just
Oh,
two
sweet.
episodes ago. Yeah.
Huh.
And
Nice.
then yeah, and of course this is named the Sisyphus reactor, and of course most people I think are at least somewhat familiar with the figure of Sisyphus, who he actually cheated death in Greek mythology a couple different times, and his most famous punishment is that he has to, in the afterlife, he has to push a boulder up a hill, but just before it reaches the top, it always rolls down to the bottom. So it's this never-ending task, which is fitting, I think, in both ways, especially in this movie, because he's kind of you could consider him kind of stuck in his own time loop where he's just repeating this task over and over again. But it
This might make
also,
people become engaged in Greek mythology if they haven't read any of it.
yeah, but also the fact that he cheated death, which earned him that punishment. And in the last movie, especially, Tree is kind of cheating death each time because instead of dying, she gets reset to the beginning of the day. So, even though she died 10 times, she cheated death each of those times.
Yes.
And it's also, she could have, if she had never broken the loop, that could have been considered like an eternal punishment for her as well, just having to die over and over again every day.
True. And having the 9 lives helps because, this could have easily been a Final Destination knockoff. And instead, this is like, no. I, like every typical thing, whether you've seen Back to the Future, Star Trek, Groundhog's Day, whatever, X Files, this is like, yeah, everything will reset once we get it right.
Mhm.
But it's going to take 2 hours to do.
Yeah, and then we get another mirror to the first movie, which this is something that I actually like about this movie for the most part is how it mirrors the first movie in so many different ways, which I think in another genre that would be a detriment, but I think it
Yes.
works because this is a time loop movie. These are both time loop movies. So I think that these mirroring from the first movie to the second movie works for me.
I
And
mean, it's not like they're denying the other movie either. So, I mean,
yeah,
they're complimenting it.
but we get this, this scene in the cafeteria, which, we got a very similar scene in the first movie with Tree kind of talking over the time loop with Carter the first time around. Only this time she's talking with Ryan and Samar and Dre and Carter. And, the
Nice.
focus is more on fixing Ryan's time loop. And again, I like the callback to Samar eating a churro here. Uh, since it is churro day in the cafeteria.
Sure.
And then we also get Tree giving what's ultimately an incorrect warning to Ryan that he's going to die again and again and again. And then what do you think about Danielle as a character? Because, she enters here and I personally love her, but I can see, her being an abrasive character. What do you think about her?
I was neither here and there. I was just like, yeah, you got to have someone who asks a truthful question but does it in an annoying way. We've all had a friend or a peer like that. So, uh, and the irony is, much like all these other characters who are familiar with this, none of them is ready for, what's about to happen next. And
Yeah.
especially when they get knocked down by that one, I guess you could call it a shockwave near the end of this scene.
Yeah, but I love
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
Danielle as like the mean girl character, and also like someone that tells it how it is and is very like politically incorrect because
Yep.
in the first movie she kind of mocks a deaf person. In this movie she calls Samar Samosa. But I do
It's
also
so
love the line.
gross.
I do also love the line because she's wearing like a low cut t-shirt and Samar's looking at her breasts and she's like, my head's the one in the middle.
That's a perfect example of everybody in the room is looking at her cleavage, but she's making it so apparent by initiating that, saying, "What are you looking at?" I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, it's one of those the self-aware elephant in the room, if you will. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
just like, but she's done a lot of stuff too. She's done some westerns and other B pictures and shorts.
Yeah, and she's
Just
also Christopher Landon's niece.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Those of you who watch more movies, you might know her from. She's a dancer in this one Maggie Rogers music video. I love Maggie. Uh, you probably have seen her in. She's the voice of Honey Marin in Frozen 2, and she had a brief recurring role on the CW's Batwoman. But lately, it's been a lot of shorts and other unusual B pictures. She just started in the Amazon romantic comedy Upgraded, so she's kind of just one of those it girls. But uh, I think everybody is definitely in favor of. I don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. I don't know if you're gonna I don't know if you're going to grow a brain. I don't know if you're going to be the unlikely hero. I seriously don't know until
Yeah,
you speak.
she reminds me a lot of like early Buffy Cordelia.
It's a bit of Buffy. It's a bit of Scrubs. It's that kind of person who's like, I don't know if you're going to, maybe a little bit of The Office. I don't know if you're going to say something offensive. I don't know if you're going to be cool. And I don't know if it's going to be a clueless moment where I want to be that person, even though they're not smart.
And then we also get another contradiction slash almost correction from the first movie, where Tree says that she died 11 times. And in the first movie, she has a quote in the second to last loop where she says that she had died 16 times when she was confronting Tombs. But
16
in terms of
times.
on-screen deaths, she only died 10 times in the first movie.
Yeah, I'm about to say. So those 6 off-screen times, I guess we can assume are montaged later or just left to our interpretation.
Yeah, but it does kind of bug me that it's like they corrected that 16 because she only died 10 times, but then she says 11, which is still one off from I mean, there were 12, there were 12 scenes, like 12 loops, but she didn't die in the last one
And
whenever she killed Lori.
I guess you could also assume, excuse me if I'm overthinking this, I guess if she finally dies the 16th time, she will actually be dead for real. Like the movie would have ended another way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but still, then that also makes me wonder, did she stop herself from dying those 5 other times, or is that just projected?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was from
Doesn't
like
even.
yeah, I don't know if that's the 16 number was from like an earlier script where they had more
Maybe it's a
deaths,
rewrite.
or yeah, or if she was just talking about, deaths, times that she died that didn't appear on screen, like maybe she had off-screen deaths because, like in Groundhog Day, he, Phil Connors lived a lot more than the 36 days that we see on screen. But in this movie, it's it doesn't feel like she would have had extra days that we don't see on screen. I mean, it's possible, but I get the feeling that I got the impression that there weren't any extra days that we didn't see.
She could have definitely been projecting, theorizing.
Yeah. Or rounding up, which I believe that's what I said is a possibility,
Round up.
whenever I talked
Perfect.
to that about that time,
I
and
mean, if I die, I'm gonna run out of time. There is an X Files episode like this called Monday,
Mhm.
where they go to a bank and they try to stop the robbery, and each time it ends with the guy blowing himself up or one of the two main characters up, and they do a clever way of being in on the joke that the audience already knows by saying, I have a sense of deja vu. And uh, these characters don't do that, but they do kind of just acknowledge, it's like, hey, there's something weird's about to happen right now. I wonder what
Yeah,
it
I
is.
do have Monday on my big list of TV episodes that I hope to cover eventually on this podcast, but
Oh
I
man.
personally I haven't seen it since it first aired.
Oh man, congrats. Yeah, it holds up. It's really well scored and edited.
Yeah, I
And
have a feeling that I'm going to, my podcast friend Jason Soto. That's he's
love you,
doing an
Jason.
X Files podcast. Oh,
Nice.
I forget what it's called, but they're doing like 2 episodes a month, and I think when they do eventually get to Monday, which I think it's like season
Oh, is it
6.
FBI's Most Unwanted?
Yeah, FBI's Most
Awesome.
Unwanted.
Awesome.
I believe he's going to have me on when they eventually get to covering Monday, but I think that's still a little ways out because I think that's like around season 5 or 6.
Hell, as a reverse, I wouldn't be surprised if they did a sitcom of Happy Death Day
Yeah, I can see
for
that.
like Peacock or Sci-Fi.
But then, getting back to the scene, Carter has the theoretically good, but ultimately not great idea of uh, going to the safest space possible, which turns out to be a Bayfield basketball game, which is full of people in baby masks. And I just love that, we start the shot of the basketball seeing two people in Bayfield baby masks looking directly at Ryan, and pans over to Ryan looking over at Tree, who looks over at Carter, and he's like, "What? Safety in numbers."
Yeah. Is like we're gonna know who's coming for us because they'll literally be coming towards us.
Yeah. And
But
and
it
I also
is,
love Ryan's audience surrogate line of who picks a creepy baby for a mascot anyway.
yeah. Could not be a creepier mask.
And then we also get a couple more callbacks from the first movie with Tree looking up in the audience and seeing Tim with his new boyfriend in the audience. And then she gets a and she gives him the thumbs up. And then she gets a text message from her dad saying, "I'm really proud of you. She would be too." And then she swipes that to her phone lock screen of her and her mom. And we get a nice little bit of I I like this moment where Tree kind of again is kind of becoming the audience, where she's saying basically that she thought the first movie was some sort of cosmic lesson for her, but now in this second movie it turns out it was just a random science experiment and didn't mean anything.
Red herring.
Yeah. And then we get, you know, a bit more of Carter just being a kind of a weird, nerdy jerk. Like, I mean, jerk is too strong, but he does the whole, you got something on your shirt, whoop. And it's because they're in that, early stage of the relationship. Tree apparently finds that charming and, laughs it off, calls him grandpa. And-
That's just it. When you're a nerd in a movie, by default, you can't be normal. You gotta
yeah.
have some quirk.
And then again, they go for which it it especially happens a lot in this movie where they go for the almost kiss and then get interrupted, and that happens
Yeah.
again here, where they go for the kiss and then they get interrupted by the fire alarm, which ends up clearing out the basketball stadium, and gives the opportunity for the killer, which I think it's safe to assume that alternate Ryan was the one that pulled the fire alarm.
Which impacts this again.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
And I think this sequence is this is one of the few kind of slasher movie moments where we get the uh, slight action scene with Ryan getting separated from everybody, and then we get the introduction of the babyface killer in the hoodie, facing the wrong way in the sea of people coming through the hallway, just staring directly at Ryan.
Hmm.
And then we get
And just
go ahead.
and it lasts for about a minute, just him looking on at everybody.
Yeah. And then we get this nice little, horror movie chase scene. Although I have no idea where he's at, because it's like, in the gymnasium, and yet there's these like four mannequins set up wearing the school clothes and the baby face masks, and of course it's setting up the fact that the killer is going to jump, be hiding behind one of them, even though the mannequins are all wearing red and the actual killer is wearing a black hoodie.
Yeah. Just basically, baby face isn't working for me anymore. I gotta be have a bigger cloak.
Yeah, and then we get the rescue by Tree, which again, like I do love Tree as a character because in so many ways she is like, final girl energy. She anytime that she goes after the killer, she gets the drop on the killer. Like both times in the first movie where she faces actual Tombs rather than Lori, she
Yep.
actually gets the drop on Tombs and has the upper hand. But the first time Carter died, so she killed herself, and then the second time she killed
Yes.
Tombs. And now this time, dealing with Ryan, it's like it's in the first movie it was only ever Lori that always got the drop on Tree, but anyone other than Lori, Tree tends to get the drop on. And
That's how he
you know,
rolls.
yeah, so she knocks out alternate parallel universe Ryan with the trophy.
This
And
is
they
uh this is a Captain America versus Captain America in game moment.
yeah,
If
and
not
we get the reveal in
I'm
this.
Captain Kirk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is where the movie fully we were already in more sci-fi territory with the Sisyphus quantum mechanics lab, but I think this throws us even deeper into sci-fi territory as we
Yeah.
get the duplicate Ryans.
Rod Sterling should have come out and said, "You are entering."
And then we get back to the quantum mechanics lab, and I do think this is fun, but it does kind of surprise me. Like you wouldn't think of what little we know of Ryan that he would be so quick to go into kill him. We have to kill him. Parallel Ryan says that, pretty early on, and then, Ryan Prime, the Ryan from this universe, it only takes him like 20 seconds to go, no, we need to kill him.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is acting irrational in this moment versus each timeline we're supposed to assume they're not going to act the same way in every universe with the same exact characteristic. I don't know. That's that's definitely a lot of brushing over
Yeah.
details.
Yeah, and then we get the him turning on the Sisyphus device, and we get flickering lights and the blue lasers. Yeah, I guess he called them proton beams, and then we also
Yeah.
get the the reintroduction of Samar and Dre coming in, and they are talking about the having a very nerd conversation about parsecs being distance rather than time. Going back to Star Wars and Han Solo's Kessel Run.
Yeah, it's like, how big of a nerd are you when you want to discuss hyperspace versus hyperdrive? Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that Han Solo says that he made the Kessel Run in
Kessel Run.
whatever. No, I don't remember the
Nerd.
number, but it's however many parsecs, and then
24 parsecs or some shit like that, and you're just like,
yeah,
okay, I
and
guess I
then
buy that. I know.
and then the nerd thing is, but parsecs is distance and not time. And then I don't remember when Solo came out. I think it would have been after this, where they
Yeah,
they
that was
retconned
like
that, and they kind of explained how the
that was
like
2018, and this was
this is
2019. So
2019, so I guess this
yeah,
was after Solo.
but they're overall just commenting on what
Mhm.
everyone else knows it as.
Yeah, because I believe that the retcon for him explaining or him measuring the Kessel Run in parsecs, in distance rather than time, was because he took the shorter, more dangerous path rather than the longer, safe path.
It takes less long, but it's also more dangerous.
Yeah.
And by hero default, he can't die, so yeah, he's got this.
And then we get again the entrance with the dean and the two security guards, and I do
Yeah,
love the comedy bits,
as a
and
guy who works in security, I've never seen any college security guard act this way. They are slacking. Which I
no,
mean has to happen. It's fine. I'm not coming to this movie for complete realism, but it's like, yeah, these guys, if their boss was here, he'd be shaking his head saying, who do I have to reassign? Who will actually
Yeah, and,
go
and
fast?
another bit that kind of bugged me again because it like one thing that impressed me in the first movie was the timing for Tree's watch because we saw like a clock showing what time it was in relation to the blackout moment, and that time actually
Yeah,
lined up almost perfectly. But in this one, we get the 20 seconds on screen, and then we
that's
do
it.
we cut back to it's 10 seconds later and it goes from 10 to 9. But then 10 seconds after that, we still get 10 more seconds before it actually goes off. So it's the 20 seconds takes 30 seconds of movie time.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole. It goes by movie logic. It's like it so did not take less than 2 minutes to pass by whatever you said. It's what I call the death trap avoiding time, where it's like we say there's a deadline, but realistically, it's going to take as long as it takes for how we're splicing in all the different footage and takes.
Yeah, and it would have made sense to me. Like I would have accepted it more if they had it like if they showed the 20 to 19 and then 10 seconds later they cut back to it and it was like, 13 to 12 because computer timing isn't always directly matched to real time because anybody that's like does things on Audacity or in a lot of things it'll say or any sort of downloading it'll have time left and that'll have a countdown, but that countdown is almost never the amount of time that it actually takes.
It takes whatever time I say, but again, it's just a number.
Yeah. So I would
Oh
have been
goodness.
like more okay with it if like the first 10 seconds took longer than 10 seconds, but like the first 10 seconds were exactly 10 seconds. And then the final 10 second or the final 9 seconds were 19 seconds. And then we get the Sisyphus, Sissy goes off
Math
and
are hard.
yeah. And then we get this slow motion explosion knocking everybody back and to the calming tones of the flower duet from the opera Lakme, which, I think anyone who as soon as it comes on, people will recognize it because it's been used so many places and so many commercials.
Yeah, this looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. Has it been in any big movies?
I mean, I did have I didn't write them down, but yeah, it's it has been in a ton of things. Like if you look up like flower duet from Lakme, it's it'll show a bunch,
Kind of like how the Elm Street High School set was used in Grease in every John Hughes movie.
or like O
Buffy.
Fortuna or from Carmina Burana or Flight of the
Yeah.
Valkyries. It's one of those things. Yeah.
It's easy to use.
And then, we get the just kind of slow motion, a bunch of, CGI detritus mixed in with the characters slowly falling back. And then, the nice bit of the two security guards, which are, most likely stunt people going through the glass. And
Yeah, big stunts. They definitely got a payday.
yeah, and then it's goes back to normal speed as then the lights go out, it fades to black, and then we hear the chimes of the clock tower, which, kind of signals
Dun,
that we are
dun.
getting ready to loop back into another day. But at this point, the viewer doesn't know if it's going to be Ryan again or if what actually happens, we find out that it's switched back to Tree, and so we get Tree from here on out.
Nice.
Which I think
And
most people
she,
would I think that'll be a relief to most people because, no offense to
yes.
Fivu, but, Ryan is not the most interesting character compared to Tree.
And plus, she's kind of appearing in key moments of the movie, so I kind of want to hear what she has to say, versus the dim-witted guy. But ultimately, she gets some good stuff here. There's the whole movie. Everyone's kind of been a little more subtle, and like you said earlier, kind of do an expo dump, and now they're getting to kind of spill the beans and react to what they're about to prevent.
Yeah. So, that's the end of this loop. So, do you have anything else to say about this loop or about
It's
the second movie as a whole?
it's definitely sets the movie up for what it is, the most atypical, which is it's like we're gonna play around with the time loops more,
Yeah.
even when it doesn't land. We're just gonna keep doing it because it's what we're doing.
Yeah, and then one thing that I've been asking people and going through the first movie where it made more sense, but I still think it's a good question to ask people because the first because we do starting next loop we go back to Tree's birthday again, going back to Monday the 18th. But do you have any birthday traditions?
Bowling. Does that count? Should we do a horror movie at a bowling alley?
What do you go bowling on your birthday every year?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Oh,
do.
nice.
It is delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't really do movie get-togethers. But if I did, it would probably definitely be a party kind of movie. Like
Mhm.
this could be a party movie. Some of those other comedies could definitely account for that. Even Groundhog's Day, you've seen it enough times at this point where now you just want to predict what awesome catchphrase is used before it happens. So it's uh, if you're going to do any birthday tradition, definitely have some kind of party night with cinema or movie trivia. That is definitely what I would recommend.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to go. But thank you so much for joining me
Thank you.
today. And
You're
why
always a
don't
delight
you?
to talk to because you're schooled in the just analyzing these scenes and the psychology of the characters. Whether the script lets them down or not, that's all up for debate. But it's always interesting. It's like, how is this actor channeling this part of the role? And it
Yeah,
is like you
there's nothing
say.
like overthinking a movie, and this format allows me to overthink a movie to the nth degree.
Totally. Just like what they teach you first in any kind of acting or theater school. What is my character and what's their motivation?
Mm.
And when you see all these movies, good, bad, or so bad they're good, without fail, there's always going to be just a little something that you can tell was lost in translation or by too many edits. Or just the actor took a while to get into the character and that was the best take. So they're acting a little wonky in one scene and they're perfect in the next. So you just don't really know until you just go back and rewatch these and you can kind of, but like you're saying, it allows you to not only wonder if you're nitpicking or if this actually ties in with some of the other offhand trivia that movie sites list. So it's like, oh, that must have been when they lost their stuff on the director or got annoyed, or really got the role and improvised this famous line. It's fun kind of placing all the other details together, if you
Yeah.
will.
All right, but
Yeah.
why don't you take a moment and let people know, where else you can be found online and, talk about your show a minute.
Jacked Up Review Show. We've been doing pop culture and in all forms lately. It's been we started in 2019. We have not stopped for a minute. We basically were analyzing all kinds of cult movies and show franchises, but then we decided let's take it up a notch. Let's talk about these different filmmakers who are kind of proficient and change the industry. But then let's take it up an even bigger notch. Let's talk about this comic book that's a continuation of this famous video game, or how about this uh, just vice versa, or how about a book that's a tie-in to a TV show, that continued it, and in some cases they're cash-ins. In better cases, they solve the issues that fans had. Sometimes that's all you get because that movie or TV show franchise was canceled. So that's all you
Mm.
have as a closure, if you will. And it's also just interesting how sometimes the fans are bigger than the product itself. Sometimes the filmmakers seems to not think highly of what they're best known for. And so you just don't really ever know what you're going to do. But all we want to do is just like anyone is just leave our own mark, our own take on it, not just go through, the motions of listing trivia you definitely have already read. I'm starting a true crime and history podcast very soon too. There's plenty of good ones out there, but since, much like Jason, I'm very inspired by audio dramas and everything, and I figured, hey, instead of just talking about the billionth, corporate shutdown or serial killer, morbid mystery, how about I just play just kind of with a little more just kind of key stuff, as well as criminally forgotten, no pun, stuff. So we could talk about infamous movie producers and whether or not we think they achieved a vision or were kind of just soulless but had a bunch of money to spare in between, however professional they were. We could talk a bit about the Kennedys, as well as just lesser known just kind of scandals and crimes. So if you want to know how many times the government has shut down, if you want to know just how much the stock market has crashed, if you want to know just all kinds of other just bizarre crimes, so 5 puzzling questions will probably tie into stuff like that very soon.
Nice. And as for me, I am Bubbawheat, and you can find me on all social medias where I'm at Bubbawheat. I'm most active on Threads these days. That's the best place to find me. And what
Lots of
I'm
posts.
doing. Yeah. And we also have a Facebook group. It's Time to Rewind, a time loop group, and you can join that to discuss episodes as they come out or have any sort of discussions, share memes about time loops. That's all welcome there. And so until next time.
I finally kicked Lori's crazy ass out a window and killed her, which broke the loop, or so I thought. But now it only looks like I passed the loop onto you, and you're going to be stuck reliving this day until we figure out how to stop it.